Hello, everyone. Welcome to the critical analysis of the fifth National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2020. This policy has been in public domain for critical comments from the different sectors, and therefore this policy is quite an important document from your examination point of view, and we are going to cover this policy and carry out the critical analysis of this policy. Now, even before we go ahead, let me tell you where this policy or this video session can help you in your examination, because this policy is directly related with science and technology field, and therefore this policy is directly related to your um, general studies paper 3 science and technology dimension. Then because this policy has some social impacts also, so it can be also studied as part of your general studies paper 1 Indian society. And lastly, you can also club it under the sociology optional as well, because the science and technology, education, and the society, they are very much interrelated, so they can ask you question even in your sociology optional as well. So it's important from that segment as well. So let's go ahead, and before even we go ahead, let me give you a small outline of what we are going to cover and how we are going to cover this particular topic. So first of all, I'm going to give you a small background of all the different policy documents that the government of India has come across in science and technology. All right, after that, we are going to, after the background, we are going to look into, you can say, the status of science in India, status of science in India. All right, भैया जिस चीज के लिए पॉलिसी बनी एक बार उसमें अपनी औकात और हैसियत तो हम देख लें. All right, and lastly, we are going to talk about some novel features of this particular policy. All right, novel features of this policy. And in the novel features, we are doing the critical analysis as well. So it's a complete package. This video, I hope that you will make the flowcharts along with me. And these flowcharts are really going to be yours, and they will help you in examination. Once you prepare them, you do not need to. Again, look forward to something else, and you will be greatly benefited in the examination. So let's begin the session now. All right. So the first segment that we are going to talk about is a small background of the different science and technology related policy documents that the government of India has come across from time to time. The first and the foremost endeavor towards development of a policy framework with respect to science and technology began in 1958. In 1958, under the prominent leadership of Homi Jagir Bhabha, India published a two-page, trust me, it was two-page scientific policy resolution. All right, so we came out with a two-page scientific policy resolution. Let's call it for short SPR. Under the SPR, the main objective was to inculcate in Indian people a scientific temper along with building capacity. So you can say the aim was inculcation of scientific temper in Indian population. See, we were like not, so the British in India, they deliberately did not pursue science and technology in India, because had they pursued science and technology, engineering and mathematics with a great rigor in India, then India would have developed on technological lines, and therefore India would not have been the market for the British finished goods. And because of this particular reason, the British did not inculcate a scientific temper in Indian masses. Yes, they helped in law, they helped in English, literature, and all those subjects, but they did not make that effort that was required in science and technology. And therefore, the first policy document of 1958 aims to inculcate scientific temper as well as build capacity in the field of science. Build capacity in the field of science. Now, the product of this policy was setting up of IITs and other premier science institutions in our country. So yes, it was a good policy document. It was a policy document that gave India a kick head start towards scientific and prowess and development of new institutions of science and technology. Then comes, after 25 years, we came out with the 1983. All right, after 25 years plus 25 years, we came out with 1983 Technology Policy Statement, TPS. All right, so in 1983, it was Technology policy statement. Well, after 25 years, we thought that something miraculous will take place, but to our dismay, it did not. The technology policy statement, that is TPS 1983, it just focused upon technological competence and self-reliance. So the aim was technological competence, technology, competence, and self-reliance, right? After that, we went with the next policy document in the year 2003. In 2003, we came out with the first dedicated policy, and that is known as Science and Technology Policy. Science and Technology Policy. This Science and Technology Policy, it aimed at increased investment in science and technology. All right. Or you can say increased investment in research and development. That is 2003. And then after 10 years, we came out with the fourth policy document. In 2013, we came out with the Science, Technology and Innovation Policy, STIP, Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2013. And the aim of this policy was science and technology-led innovation for socio-economic development. It's a heavy words, but trust me, all right, like every other policy document, it was nothing but same old wine in the new bottle. So let's have a look at the policy statement, or you can say the aim and objective of Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. So the aim was science and technology-led innovation for socio-economic development. Innovation for socio-economic development. Well, my dear friends, after these four fantabulous, trust me, it's fantabulous, with please try to see the sarcasm there. All right. So after these four fantabulous documents, we are now with the fifth document. And this time the fifth document is, pardon me for the lamp being off, just the fifth document that we came out is the Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2013. Well, before we look into the novel features and appreciate the characteristic features of the 2020 policy, pardon me, it's 2020 policy, let us look at what is the outcome of the previous four documents. ये तो देख लें कि पहले चार डॉक्यूमेंट्स ने ऐसा क्या तीर मार लिया जो अब हम फिफ्थ डॉक्यूमेंट में कुछ नई चीज करेंगे, है ना? So we'll be looking into the current status of science in India. So the second segment of this session, that is, we are going to look into the current session of science and the current status of science and technology in India. Current status of science and technology in India. Even before I tell you about the fifth policy document, that is Science and Technology Innovation Policy 2020, I take the liberty over here to tell you that this 2020 document want to make India stand among top 3 scientific nations. All right, it intend to make India stand among the top 3 scientific nations in this decade, 2020 to 2030. So इनकी ये मंशा पूरी कर लेते हैं. Let's compare the current status of science and technology and innovation in India with respect to the top 2, because we are aspiring for the third position. So let's compare it with the top 2 countries. Number 1, US, and second, China. So whatever status we are going to discuss, we'll also bring in some other countries and see where we stand. And let's see whether this policy is over ambitious or is it achievable. All right, critical analysis, so we have to look into all these dimensions, right? So let's look at the current status of science and technology in India. Let us first talk about ranking of Indian institutions. ranking of Indian institutions. Well, my dear friends, you all would not be surprised because you all know this thing that according to the Times Higher Education Index, according to Times Higher Education Index, we are not having even a single institution in top 300 institutions of the world. Not even a single Indian university ranks among the top 300 universities in science, technology, and innovation sector in the world. Are you getting my point? And let's be a little lenient for our science and technology sector. Only 2 stand in top 400. Only 2 stand in top 400. This is really pathetic situation. If we compare to the scientific spirit that is there in other countries, the developed countries, with respect to our country. Are you getting my point? So this is first segment. We have failed in the previous 4 policy documents. None of our universities are among the top 300, and out of top 400, only 2 are there in the list. Let us now look into the number of trained scientific researchers. Second segment, number of trained scientific researchers. If we talk about the number of trained scientific researchers, India's per lakh population, there are just 15 trained scientific researchers per 1 lakh population. This is the status in India. Per 1 lakh population, we just have 15 trained scientific researchers. Now let's compare. We have to stand among the top 3. So let's compare now. If you look at China, China being even more populous than us, we are having 111 trained scientific researchers per 1 lakh population. All right, that's close to more than 7 times that India has. A small country like Israel, which is most of the time involved in its conflict with the Arab world, Israel has 825 trained researchers, all right, trained scientific researchers per 1 lakh population. So the manpower or the human capital, my dear friends, in India in the field of science is pathetically very less. 2003 policy aimed at increased investment. If you remember, in the very first part of this session, I told you that the 2003 policy aimed at increased investment. Well, let's have a look at it. As a percentage of GDP, India spent less than 1% in science, technology, and innovation segment of its GDP. India's investment was just 0.84% of GDP in the year 2008. Now you must be thinking, since in 2003 we came out with a policy where we were aiming at increased investment in science, so increased investment should have increased. But then, Kathni or Karni ka antar. If you compare this with the 2018 investment as a percentage of GDP in 2018, we have reduced our investment as percentage of GDP, and we are spending just 0.69% of the GDP into scientific research. And my dear friends, you wonder that why India is facing shortage of vaccine? Because India did not contribute a single penny in development of vaccines, COVID vaccines in the world. In March 2020, United States of America invested $1 billion in the Operation Warp Speed for the development of vaccines, COVID vaccines. India did not. चलिए, नहीं किया, कोई बात नहीं. At least you should have placed advance orders. You did not. And now it's a blame game that is there between the states and the union about the vaccines. And who is suffering in all these gimmicks? The common man. है ना? आम जनता of this banana republic is suffering. कोई बात नहीं. Fate. All right. This is the third dimension, investment, and we are nowhere close. Let's compare it with the global. Israel, a small country, again spends somewhere close to 4.3% of its GDP into scientific research. And our near dear friend China, it has even went for more than 2% of its total GDP. All right, I don't have the exact figure right now, but it's certainly more than 2%. South Korea has spent 4.2% of its GDP upon scientific research, and we are even less than 1%, and we are not even increasing. We are decreasing as percentage of GDP. Chali, something new is going to happen this year, maybe. Next, comparison is on innovation. And the best proxy instrument to measure innovation is the number of patents. If we talk about the number of patents filed by Indians, the number of patent applications filed by Indians was close to 46,582 patents. 46,582 patents in 2019. But my dear friends, I have talked about Indians. It includes residents plus non-residents. भैया हमारी big diaspora is in United States and all those countries, है ना, तो उनको भी हमने काउंट कर लिया, नंबर बढ़ जाए ना. We know how to proliferate the data, है ना, इज्जत की बात है, कोई बात नहीं. So this number includes residents as well as non-residents. Let us remove the non-residents because they were not working in India. So to get the clear picture of number of patents that you have filed from India, if you remove the non-residents, then it drops to just 14,906 patent applications in the year 2019. And you know what? Here I remember a quote from Narayan Murthy, who is the CEO of Infosys. So whenever I used to appear in mains for the essay, I used to remember this quote. And I also used to remember this quote for the 4 interviews that I went in, because me being from the science background, I could have been asked this question. So I remember this quote very well. And over here, I'm going to share it with you all. Mr. Narayan Murthy is of the opinion that in the past 75 years of our independence, we are not yet touched 75, let's say 74 years of our independence, or let's say the entire 20th century. Name one innovation from India that has become the household name globally. Zero. Zero diya mere Bharat mein. Aryabhat gave 0. And last century, we also gave 0 innovations to the world, which became the household name. And this is not what I'm saying. This is what Narayan Murthy says, who is the founder and CEO of Infosys. So my words don't have any weight, but yes, Narayan Murthy's word certainly does have weight. So this is the level of innovation in India. And now let's compare it with top 3 में आना है तो compare कर ही लेते हैं. So if we compare it with China, China made 1.38 billion patent applications in 2019. We are in thousands. They are in billion. 1.3, sorry, not billion, pardon me. They are in million. 1.38 million applications. If you treat their population to be 1.4 billion, then 1 in 1,000 person is filing a patent. This is equivalent to say that this is the level of innovation that these Chinese people are doing. And one of the innovation may be this coronavirus. All right. Let's give the blame to them. So 1.38 million patents applications filed in 2019 by China alone, and at least half of them were, sorry, not half of them, US has less than China, certainly much more than India, but less than China by a figure of divide by 2. So in the United States of America, they filed 606,956. That is 6,956 patents. Please compare these figures. I know we all are feeling ashamed, but these are the reality. Whenever on any social media platform, I try to look forward to some post said by somebody that India is going to be the next superpower, I really feel ashamed by looking at the comments that different people are putting in, because we are blindfolded by someone showing us a different future. But the outside people, they are seeing the reality. Are you getting my point? We were chest thumping, that 56-inch chest thumping was going on, that India is in the end stage of COVID-19. We turned out to be the worst hit country. Thank God that we know how to manipulate the data that prevented us to be on the rank 1. Let the US be. But if we go by the real statistics, God forbid, we are much ahead than anybody else. Actually, conspiracy theory. All right, I should not go into this. Next important segment to assess the status of science in India is the quality of scientific research, or you can say the number of scientific publication. Quality of scientific research. देखिए यहाँ पे कहीं ना कहीं पे इम्प्रूवमेंट हुआ है. There has been certainly some improvement on this front, but then the number of publication that we are so the number of research publication that we are publishing, the number of research publication is just 4.8% of global total. So again, somewhere we are compromising here. With a country with the population of approximately 17-18%, if we are just publishing 4.8% of the total peer-reviewed journals, that's very less, 4.8%. And if we compare it with China and US, pardon me, I don't want to do that, but yes, it's really very fractional. All right, so you can just write down that India's publication is just 4.8% of the global total, whereas that of China and US, they combined stand for 16 to 17% each. All right, on USA plus China. USA plus China. All right. So each a that is US 16-17%, China 16-17%. Combined, they are like 32 to 34%. Very significant number, right? Chaliye. So now I think that we have sufficiently looked into the progress we have made in the field of science based on the 4 policy documents of the previous time. Now we are going to look into or do the critical analysis of the draft National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2020. All right. We haven't achieved much of the wonders till this point, but I am hopeful that this policy may bring something really good. So the thing is this policy becomes even more important because COVID-19 pandemic, it has shown to the world the importance of science and technology. All right. This has shown that how important science, technology, and innovation are. You see, in terms of innovation, countries like US, they produced mRNA vaccine, which are really advanced way of development of vaccine. Russia and UK, they produced the vector technology-based vaccine, and India's Covaxin used age-old technique of dead virus to develop the vaccine, and still the World Health Organization is yet to recognize both Covaxin as well as Russia's Sputnik 5. But all the US-based vaccines and UK-based vaccines have been given the World Health Organization approval for emergency use. So somewhere, those countries which were ahead in science, technology, and innovation, they have been very much capable of controlling the pandemic. All right. Yes, the people in the Western society over there, they are a bit stubborn not to wear a mask, not to follow the COVID-19 required protocol. And because of this reason over there, the state of the spread of disease was way too high. They did not single day impose the lockdown in the United States, and yet they did not feel that much amount of heat that we had felt in the second COVID-19 wave. So we should not say that America was the just worst hit, but yes, they controlled the pandemic to a great extent. All right. And, recently Joe Biden has even said that the people who have been vaccinated with 2 complete doses, they need not wear masks. So Israel has gone mask free. New Zealand has gone mask free. And now United States of America is on the path of being mask free. So somewhere science and technology and innovation is always a savior. In fact, today I was watching a TV debate over there. The IMA, Indian Medical Association, and the doctors, they come into tussle with the Ayurvedic, what I should say, Ayurvedic yoga guru, Swami Ramdev, who criticized the allopathic doctors. And the fact is that more than Ayurveda, the people who saved many lives in India, they were from allopathy. So you cannot criticize that thing. So we have to acknowledge that science, technology, and innovation is certainly much more important today than ever before. And this has shown to us by COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, I would tell you that COVID-19 pandemic has provided an opportunity for India to grasp right now and build a collaboration of research institutions on one hand, academia on second hand, and industry on the third hand. In the Western society, science and technology is advanced because they have a very good integrated ecosystem. Over there, there is a synergy and collaboration and cooperation between the research institutions, between the academy and academicians, or the academia and industry. And that is why they excel. Getting my point? But in case of India, we are somewhere falling short on this synergized collaboration or ecosystem in science and technology as well as innovation. However, there are certain novel features which are included in this draft, which we are about to discuss, but still that aim at collaboration is missing to some extent. So we'll just look at it. All right. So this STIP 2020, it aims at a vision, or you can say the vision of this document is to place India among the top 3 scientific superpowers in the decade to come. All right, so the vision is to place India among top 3 scientific superpowers. Scientific superpowers in the decade to come. The decade to come. This is the vision document. And for achieving this vision, this policy also outlines certain strategies, and the strategy involves strengthening of India's science, technology, and innovation ecosystem for Atmanirbhar Bharat. All right. So, strategy that they are going to follow to achieve this goal, the strategy rests upon, the strategy rests upon strengthening of India's science, technology, and innovation ecosystem. India's science, technology, and innovation ecosystem. That is, we are going to bind together the science, technology, and innovation related organizations in India under a single fabric. So this policy aims at unifying entire ecosystem related to science, technology in India to achieve what is known as Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now you must be thinking that Atmanirbhar Bharat is something new which has come up and which did not exist earlier? Well, let's have a look at it. In the very beginning, I told you that I'll give you a background, and you see the 1983 policy, it aims at self-reliance. 1983, that's like 40 years from now. All right. So we aimed at self-reliance 40 years from now, and we are aiming at self-reliance, my dear friends, in the year 2020 as well. All right. And maybe in next many centuries, we'll be aiming at Atmanirbhar Bharat. Kabhi na kabhi to hoga ye sapna saakar. All right, let's go ahead. So now we are going to look into some novel features and analyze them to complete this critical analysis of not just this policy, but entire science and technology infrastructure in our country, or the status of science and technology and innovation in India. The first novel idea or the novel feature of this policy that I would like to discuss with you is the open science framework and the attempted inclusiveness that has been targeted by this framework. So the first novel feature is that the Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2020, it aims at building up an open science framework, building up an open science framework, which will attempt at inclusiveness, So let's look at what is this open science framework and how it is going to attempt at inclusiveness. Well, the first and the foremost thing is this, that India want to go for open science. Open science means that we are going to integrate every platform over where research is taking place, so that there is an equitable participation of all the players in research output, greater transparency and accountability in research. So we are going to promote a concept of open science, that is, whatever science is happening in one institution is accessible and visible to other simultaneous institution. So there is a constant peer-to-peer review going on. So like, for example, if I'm doing a research somewhere, it is open to other people also to some aspect. See, certainly my data cannot be revealed, otherwise somebody else will publish the paper. So, but whatever I have published, whatever work I have done, I have drafted a paper. After drafting the paper and putting the paper for publication, my scientific data and my scientific information is accessible to all. All right, this is known as open science. So open science results into what? Open science results into equitable participation. It will result into equitable participation. Now this data is accessible by almost even every scientific institution in the country, be it private or public, so that even they can contribute in scientific research if they do not have the capability to have their own science laboratories, their own infrastructure. So open science results into equitable participation in science. And this takes place through access to research output. This equitable participation takes place through access to research output of the different institutions across the country. It is also taking place through greater transparency of all the research that is taking place in the country, as well as accountability for the research, for research. All these things are going to promote open science in India, that is going to integrate the country into a single fabric of science community. So that is why we are saying that it is also promoting inclusiveness. So equitable participation is promoting inclusiveness. Now, what will be the significance of this particular characteristic feature? So let's look at the significance. The significance is that it will result into, as every one of you can understand, that it is going to result into better utilization of resources. So it will result into better utilization of resources. If one institution has some resources and they publish a data, then the other institution should not publish the similar data. Rather, they can make use of this data to go for something else. So that same resource may not be used to generate the similar data. So duplicity of data results into resource wastage, which will be prevented by the open science framework and inclusiveness. All right, so there will be better resource utilization. Along with this, there will be a constant exchange of knowledge. There will be a constant exchange of knowledge. And knowledge between producers, that is the people who produce that knowledge, and the consumers of this knowledge. So the producers may be academia, and the consumers may be industry. So somewhere a slight linkage you can see between academia and industry, which is responsible for the science and technology growth in Western society. All right. After that, another significance of this open science framework and inclusive will be that it will be largely community driven and supported with necessary institutional mechanisms and operational modalities. All right. So it is going to develop scientific community in the country. All right, scientific community in the country. That is, there will be a sense of oneness among the scientific community, which right now is not like a community at present. At present, the scientific community in India is like a category. All right, that is, every scientific institution publishes its data and feels very reluctant in sharing the data with the other people or the counterparts who are doing the similar work in India. So this category, or you can say separation among the different institutions, has to be broken, and the community spirit has to be brought in, and for which I think that science, technology, and innovation policy has done a right way forward by promoting inclusiveness through open science framework. Then the next important characteristic feature that is worth discussing, which is a novel characteristic feature of STIP. It is one nation, one subscription, and democratization. So let's discuss that. It is one nation, one subscription, and democratization. So when we look at this feature is related to the peer-reviewed scientific information. Peer-reviewed scientific information. So let me tell you what is a peer-reviewed scientific information. Suppose I am working on a COVID-19 protein. All right. And my COVID-19 protein has given some data. Now I publish a paper. So I will draft a paper and I will upload this paper in some journal. All right. And that journal is going to send my paper to similar people who are working in this field, who are the editors. All right. So editor of this journal will send my paper to the reviewers who work in the same field. They will look at my data and they will say whether my data is of some credibility or not. And if they say, yes, it is of some credibility, my paper will be published in that particular journal, or else I will be given some revision or rejection. All right. So this is how the COVID scientific data is published, and that published scientific data is peer reviewed. So peer reviewed scientific data is authentic and credible scientific data, and many countries, they make use of this authentic scientific data to enhance the level of scientific research in their own country. So what India is doing now, India says that right now there's a system that is known as centrally negotiated payment system to access these peer-reviewed journals. All right, so at present, what is happening? At present, there is something known as centrally negotiated. There is centrally negotiated payment mechanism that is in place, where the institutions, all right, all the research institutions, they pay money to the journal, all right, for access access, and that access is limited to only that institution. So maybe like say there are 100 institutions in India, there are 100 industries, all right, and there are 100 other you can say startups or something. Let's talk about this. So 100 institutions have got their own access to different journals by paying money, but the industry does not have that access. Industry can also make use of the scientific access, scientific data if it gets access to the scientific data. All right, and there are many private institutions, there are many small institutions, they even do not have access to the scientific data because they cannot afford, because the access to the scientific information is very expensive. All right, so what government of India is going to do now? So the government is changing this system, and government is going to buy access to all journals, both Indian and foreign. So Indian government, it is going to buy access to all journals, both Indian as well as foreign. So quality research material is being targeted by accessing all the major journals across the world, and then disseminate this information to the consumers of knowledge. All right, and make them accessible to all the consumers of knowledge. To all consumers of knowledge. For example, now all educational institutions, no matter how big or small, so they will have access to the quality research material, academia. Then industry can also have access to all such research articles. All right, line departments can have access to such quality research material. All right, apart from this, many other people who are innovators. All right, so even innovators can have access to the quality materials who otherwise did not have any kind of access to this quality material. So by this way, all right, by this way, the government of India want to democratize scientific knowledge. The government of India is going to democratize scientific knowledge. And my dear friends, if you have got this sense right now, that somewhere the second point is going to support the first point, that is open science framework, right? So integrating the entire scientific community together. So so the government of India is going to democratize the scientific knowledge across the country. All right, so this is there to support the first feature. Support first feature. Now, next, we are going to look into some social dimension of this policy, and this policy aims to bridge science along with gender parity. All right, so we are going to go for gender parity along with science in this policy 2020. So you know that in India, many of the women have contributed in scientific development since a long time. For example, in mathematics, there was Leelavati. In natural science, there was Gargi. In astronomy, there was Khanna. So many women have contributed in scientific research in India, but we do have a very little participation of women in science in India. But we have seen that in the last 6 years, women participation has increased in science and technology. Women participation has increased in science and technology. However, in R&D, we still have a very little participation. All right, the women still have small participation, that is close to 16% of the total workforce in R&D, and we have a very strong population, or we have a very strong reserve force of women scientists to be incorporated. So this policy is targeting gender parity by addressing career breaks for women, not according to their biological or physical age, but according to their academic age. All right, so they are planning to go for, or they are promoting gender parity by career breaks, and these career breaks not according to you can say biological or physical age, but academic age. Then along with this, We are also planning to provide them maternity benefits. Then we are going to encourage the institutions and organizations to be more women-centric in recruitment if they get some really good talent from the women pool. All right. Apart from this, we are also targeting the rural areas to promote scientific spirit so that we can even harness the talent from the rural areas. And we are making scientific institutions more disabled friendly. We are making scientific institutions more citizen friendly. You can say Divyang Jan friendly. That is, people who are differently abled, even they can be able to have access to all the, you can say, the infrastructure or the facilities provided by the scientific institutions. So this is the social dimension that we are trying to target. We are trying to harness the women talent pool. We are trying to harness the rural talent pool, and we are going to harness even the Divyangjan or differently abled talent pool. So all these things are giving it a scientific and social flavor simultaneously. Next very important characteristic feature or the novel feature is innovation based on, very important, innovation based on traditional knowledge. You know that Indian ancient past is having some glorious time during the age of Gupta period or the Gupta Empire. So many of traditional knowledge in India, if it is given that research and innovation edge, this indigenous know-how can help India shine globally. So ancient wisdom, all right, Indian ancient wisdom, if it is fused with modern science and technology, then it is possible that India will generate indigenous know-how. India will generate indigenous know-how which can make India shine globally. Well, if I translate it into a very simple word, सिंपल सी बात है कि भारत के जुगाड़ को अगर हम थोड़ा सा साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ पॉलिश करें तो that can make India shine globally. All right, jugaad means indigenous, those tricks and gimmicks that we make use of our traditional knowledge to, you know, our advantage. Even if they are given a little push by modern science and technology, I think that the traditional knowledge system and grassroots innovation into overall education, research and innovation system is going to help India shine globally by development of indigenous know-how, and we can certainly do that. All right. Then last very novel feature of this national science and technology innovation policy is collaboration and ease of doing business. So we are targeting collaboration and ease of doing research. So how we are targeting this? We have actually created an agency known as National Science Technology Observatory, National Science Technology Innovation Observatory. So this observatory is thought to come up under this 2020 policy, which will act as the central repository of all kind of data. Central repository of all kinds of data. All kinds of data. All right. Which will be generated from India's science, technology, and innovation ecosystem, and anybody can take help or collaborate with the different organizations to produce some quality scientific outcome for which India can be globally become famous. And very important to fund or to make the ease of doing research or making research experiencing easiness, we are creating Science, Technology and Innovation Development Bank. Under this policy, we are aiming at creation of Science, Technology, Innovation Development Bank. All right, so this is going to fund all direct long investments in strategic areas. strategic areas. All right, so we are trying to provide easy funding for even the scientific development and scientific research in our country. Well, see, the thing is this, that we have tremendous amount of intelligent people. Countries like US, Europe, Australia, they are making use of Indian brains to their advantage. It's not that we are not good at learning the things. Our education system is poor. Our government support is poor. We are missing on various parts. That is the reason that we are lagging behind. We have to just, revolutionize. We do not need revolutionary change. We just need some small tits and bits changes which will combine together to give even a larger outcome. You know that today, if you look at the American population over there, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics field is dominated by the people from two countries, India and China, and India is even much larger than China. So we are driving their economy, we are driving their technology, we are driving their science. We need to do the same for India. These policies will be of no good use until and unless we get to retain our brains. We have to go for greater funding. We have to go for quality research. We have to go for good infrastructure. We have to go for collaboration between the industry, academia, and the research. Only then we can expect that in India we are going to develop in terms of science. Otherwise, trust me, we are going to just draft these policies and end up with the new policy after every decade. These things do not work well. We need that scientific spirit. We need to cultivate that scientific spirit, and only then we can think about transforming our country or placing our country in the top 3 scientific platforms. Well, I will conclude the lecture here. All right, I hope it was a good learning experience and you get to learn about a lot about this policy. In fact, if you keep this much information with you for this policy, I don't think so that any question coming from the National Science Technology Innovation Policy would be doing wrong. Number one. Secondly, there's a good possibility to cover comparison of the National Science Technology Innovation Policy 2020 and National Science Technology Innovation Policy 2013. There is a potential question that can be asked, that is the achievement of the Science Technology Innovation Policy 2013. So there is only one achievement, that we have increased the quality of research and we have increased the peer-reviewed papers somewhere like 4.8% of the total global output, right? Apart from that, we have failed miserably in all the fields. All right, so you don't have to be that much harsh as I just spoke. Just be a little lenient and tell that yes, we are lagging behind, we are catching up, but we need a good infrastructural support, which I think that this policy is promising. But again, पॉलिसी बनाना एक अलग चीज है और पॉलिसी को इंप्लीमेंट करके उसको सही तरीके से उसका निष्कर्ष निकालना एक अलग चीज है. Also, whatever we discussed, I will make sure that you are going to get this PDF as an attachment in the description, in the link, as a link in the description, so you can download this PDF that I have just scribbled on this digital board, so that you can keep this with you. Plus, I am also like emphasizing upon that my flowcharts are my flowcharts. If you draw the flowcharts in the lecture along with me, they are your flowcharts and they are really going to benefit you. So I think that with this, I'll close the session. I hope it was a learning experience. See you next week with some other interesting topic. That's all. Bye and take care.